The air in Willow Creek was cool that morning, carrying the scent of wet earth after a night of light rain. A farmer named Eli was making his rounds, checking on his livestock, when he noticed a thin ribbon of smoke curling above the tree line near an abandoned property. The land had been empty for years, its old farmhouse collapsing into itself, surrounded by weeds as tall as a man. At first, Eli thought nothing of it. Burn piles were common in the countryside, used to clear brush and unwanted debris. But as he steered his tractor closer, the smoke thickened, and a sharp, unnatural smell began to sting his nose. It was nothing like burning leaves or wood. It was heavier, chemical, and disturbing. When he arrived, the sight was unsettling. The burn pile was large, built from splintered boards, furniture scraps, and what looked like old carpeting. Flames had already died down, leaving only pockets of orange heat glowing beneath the blackened heap. Something about the scene felt wrong, too deliberate, too concealed. Then, as Eli's eyes scanned the charred mess, a flash of pale caught his attention. At first, he thought it might be porcelain from a broken sink, but as he stepped closer, he realized it was smooth in a way that made his stomach twist. Lying half-buried in ashes was a human arm, the skin grey from heat and the shape unmistakable. Eli staggered back, heart pounding, his hands trembling as he fumbled for his phone. Within minutes, the quiet field filled with the sound of sirens, the burn pile now surrounded by police tape. Forensic teams began their work, methodically sifting through layers of ash, pulling out warped metal, scorched fabric, and fragments of bone. The grim reality settled in. Someone had tried to erase a life in this very spot. The remains taken from the burn pile were carefully collected and sent to the state forensic lab. It didn't take long for dental records to confirm the victim's identity: Gary Farris, a 42-year-old handyman who lived on the outskirts of Willow Creek. Gary was known by almost everyone in town. He had a reputation for being reliable with tools, fixing fences, repairing leaky roofs, and taking on the odd jobs others avoided. He was quiet but friendly, often paid in cash or in favors rather than formal contracts. People trusted him to come and go as he pleased, which made it easy for his disappearance to go unnoticed at first. According to police records, Gary had been reported missing nearly 2 weeks earlier. His cousin, who lived a few miles away, had called it in after Gary stopped showing up to work sites and failed to answer his phone. At the time, some assumed he might have left town for seasonal construction work, something he had done in the past. There were no public signs of trouble in his life, no debts, no known enemies, and no recent disputes that anyone could recall. The autopsy revealed that Gary had died before the fire was set. His body had been severely damaged by the heat, but there were signs of blunt force trauma to the skull and ribs, indicating a violent confrontation. Investigators noted that none of Gary's personal possessions were found with the remains. His wallet, wristwatch, and the old pickup truck he drove were all missing. Tracing his last movements, detectives learned that Gary had recently been working on a broken fence along the border of an overgrown property, not far from the abandoned lot where his body was found. That connection would soon become the first link in a much darker chain of events. Investigators treated the abandoned property as a primary crime scene, combing through every inch of ground surrounding the burn pile. The area was littered with broken glass, rusted tools, and old trash left to decay over the years. Beneath layers of ash, they uncovered a length of twisted metal chain fused together by intense heat, along with the charred remains of a heavy-duty padlock. These items seemed out of place among the typical debris and suggested that something, or someone, had been restrained before the fire. A closer inspection of the ground revealed fresh tire tracks cutting through the mud. They led from the property's back entrance to an old service road, barely visible beneath overgrown weeds. Photographs were taken, and plaster casts of the tire impressions were made for comparison later. It was clear that whoever dumped the body had driven in and out quickly, using a route that kept them hidden from public view. While canvassing the area, police interviewed locals who recalled seeing a dark-colored pickup truck parked near the property late at night about a week before the discovery. No one had gotten close enough to see the driver, but one witness mentioned the sound of heavy objects being moved. The property itself was traced back to a man named Hale, a reclusive figure with a criminal history involving theft and assault. Official records showed that Hale had sold the property years earlier and supposedly left the state. Forensics confirmed another chilling detail: traces of gasoline were found deep in the soil beneath the burn pile. This wasn't an accidental fire or a desperate attempt to destroy garbage, it was deliberate. Someone had planned this, choosing a forgotten property, adding accelerant, and leaving almost nothing behind except the body of Gary Farris. Weeks slipped by with no clear suspect in custody, and the case seemed to stall. The abandoned property remained cordoned off, a grim reminder to the locals of what had been found there. Then, During a routine review of collected evidence, a technician noticed something small and easily overlooked: a partially melted phone battery buried in the dirt near the edge of the burn site. The casing was warped from heat, but the serial number was still legible. Cross-checking the number confirmed it belonged to Gary Farris's missing phone. The device itself was destroyed, but digital forensic specialists managed to recover fragments of stored data. Among them was a short but telling text message: "Meet me at the old place tonight. Bring the tools." The timestamp placed it on the night Gary disappeared. The sender's number was traced to a prepaid phone purchased at a gas station in a neighboring county. Investigators obtained the station's surveillance footage from that day. At first, the recording showed nothing more than a hooded figure paying in cash for the phone. But when the person left, a small reflection in the station's glass door briefly revealed part of his face. It wasn't much, but it was enough to run through facial recognition software. The system returned a match: Victor Hale, the former owner of the abandoned property and a man with a known violent past. It was the first concrete link between Hale and the crime scene. Detectives also learned that a truck matching the description given by witnesses was registered to an associate of Hale's in a nearby county. This discovery reignited the investigation, shifting the focus toward tracking Hale's whereabouts before he could vanish again. The hunt for him had officially begun. Authorities tracked Victor Hale to a remote trailer on the edge of a neglected trailer park 2 counties away. He was living under a false name, paying cash for everything, and keeping to himself. The property was surrounded by scrap metal, broken appliances, and discarded tires, as if he had been collecting junk for years. Under the cover of night, law enforcement moved in. Hale was taken into custody without incident, though his expression remained cold and unreadable. A thorough search of the trailer uncovered several pieces of damning evidence. In a drawer, police found Gary Farris's wristwatch, still intact despite the fire that had destroyed so much else. Propped against the wall was the same style of heavy-duty padlock recovered from the burn pile, its serial number matching the melted remains at the crime scene. In a corner sat a half-empty gas can with traces of accelerant matching the chemical samples taken from the soil. These discoveries left little doubt that Hale had been directly involved. During questioning, investigators confronted Hale with the recovered text message and the gas station footage. The pressure mounted until he finally admitted to luring Gary to the abandoned property. He claimed they argued over a set of stolen tools, and in a fit of rage, he attacked Gary. Realizing what he had done, Hale attempted to erase all trace of the crime by burning the body along with anything that could connect him to it. The evidence and confession were enough for a swift conviction. Hale was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In Willow Creek, the case left an unshakable mark. Residents still recalled the morning smoke rose from that forgotten property, carrying with it the hidden horror of what lay in the ashes.